Go.
Sorry.
Terrible troll.
So, hey, welcome to the last Friday update for July. As always, can you guys hear? Sound good?
Jack Mode says you got me. Good sound and video.
Awesome. So, this is going to be a relatively short one. If you've been in the forums today, you've seen that we have been rather busy with builds and configurations and testing, and I've got a lot more to do. We've got a lot more to do before we get out of here today. Kind of an important update, so I'll definitely be around for about 35 or so minutes for questions, but I need to wrap up absolutely before 5 o'clock. So, the question that everyone wants to know, are we going to announce beta today? The answer is yes. Sort of. And it is a yes, but with one caveat. So, beta date, Tuesday, July 31st, 2018, for Sacrix and others who might be tempted to say 2019 or 20. Everything is going well. We have the one caveat, and this is just one, is we still haven't been able to get enough of you folks since July 4th to log in and test the web API server. We would like 500 of you to do that tomorrow. And if we can't get enough tomorrow, we're going to try on Sunday. We're going to have a limited window on Sunday to try to get you people in to see how our changes work. We've tested them ourselves. We're looking good, but until we can actually get a whole lot of you folks in at the same time, we just can't be 100% sure. So, with that caveat, absolutely, Beta 1 is intended to start on this Tuesday, July 31st. That being said, I can tell you we're going to be testing today, as we've been testing all day. We're going to be testing tonight. We're going to be testing some of Saturday, at which point we will shut it down and bring it up again on Sunday. So, folks, please, all we need you to do is come in, look around. You can plan a scenario, you can build, you can craft. We just need you to come on in and see how the changes to the web API server that we've been making over the last week, you know, how they hold up. And we can only do that with you folks. Like I said, we've been using our own testing and outside testing, and we just can't get enough demand on the server to cause an issue. So, in terms of beta, again, Tuesday, we have a manual that we're working on. For those who want to help out, go to the beta forums. You'll see a thread from me where I post the work in progress manual. It's 63 or 62 pages. We'd love feedback on it, besides it's too long, or shorten it. We're not. But other feedback is welcome. You find typos, you find other errors. Great, fantastic, we'll clean that up. The intent for beta is just as we've said from the beginning. Definitely weekend tests. Weekday tests will be limited in general to alphas and ITs, and occasional beta testers when we need to get large numbers, but we will be testing. The intent is to test every single weekend. And again, we will still be doing our normal IT testing during the week, and then, of course, ramp it up, as I said, to bring in some more alphas or to bring in beta 1s. The daily testing, however, will cease. That takes a lot of our time. It also costs a fair amount of money to do that, and that's what the weekend tests are for. If we do launch it, as we hope, on Tuesday, I'll be here to talk more about the beta, to answer more questions. I don't want to get too excited right now because you folks know me. I tend to be a very let's wait, time will tell. But what we're seeing so far, we like a lot. The Builders Brigade has done a great job of fleshing out the world, especially given our lack of polished tools and the limited amount of time they've had. Expect even better things over time. The scenarios that we've been running, first the Castle one, and of course now the new Dragonfang scenario have been great fun. Building has been good overall. There have been some issues, nothing horrid, but just things that we're working on to improve and in some cases to fix. Building stability will not be turned on for the beginning of Beta 1. That will, of course, be turned on during Beta 1. But for now, we wanted folks to be able to focus, frankly, on just building without, stability. And there's also the time factor. We could have put a lot of time into last miling that and get it in. But frankly, the most important thing right now with building is just to let you folks build like you would in Cube. Sort of course. In Cube, things are instant. In Camelot Unchained, they, of course, cannot be instant. We've been talking about this, as well forever. Crafting is in. People have been crafting all week. It is placeholder numbers, of course. It's also a placeholder UI, but thanks to Me Huge, hey, we have a UI. And JB's made a number of improvements over the last few days. So that will also be ready for Beta 1. So that the UI is, easier to read, easier to work with, but still very, very placeholder. But the important thing about that and the crafting system itself is so far it is working absolutely as intended. So people have been purifying. People have been taking, shaping, and making. Everything you see here, just like the combat abilities, is a first pass. It's meant to test various aspects of the system, not the exact system. That is going to be laid in during the beta process. So as you folks are playing the game, whether it's Tuesday or a week from Tuesday or a month from Tuesday, the one thing that you can expect from us, absolutely guaranteed, is change. Lots of change. The systems you see now will all be evolving over the coming weeks and months. That is why we have a Beta 1. That is why we have a long beta period. This is exactly what we had in mind when we set out the tiers the way we set out the tiers. We know we will have time to get this right before launch, and best of all, you folks will get to be a part of it. So whether it is helping me work on the crafting system, or helping Ben with abilities, or Andrew and the team on 300 or 400 or larger scale scenarios as we do scale up during Beta 1, you folks all get to be a part of it. And as you've seen from the forums already, you'll get to talk about it. You'll get to offer us your suggestions. You'll be able to offer criticism. All of that is fair game because we're in Beta 1, not Beta 2, not Beta 3, not Open Beta, Beta 1. Where that kind of help, those, again, suggestions, criticisms even, though as always, please be polite, are welcome. We want to make this a great game. Certainly we've come a long way tech-wise, we've come a long way even game-wise, and we're just going to get better, of course, from here. So having said that, obviously no top 10 except for number 1, hey, Beta Tuesday. If everything goes fine over the weekend, with only one thing that, as of now, is something we're all worried about, which is what would happen if 500 people all hit the API server at the same time, the web API server. So that's it. Let's go to questions.
All right, it's Q&A time. Raknok asks, is CU going to have a long beta test like ArchH Korea taking over a year plus?
Oh, absolutely. We've said that right, certainly for many, many months. The game is not slated to launch until late next year. We want to have a long beta, and it's a real beta. It's not a beta that ArcAge or most games have nowadays, at least not in the U.S., where the game has been overseas for a long time, or even in beta overseas for a long time. Our beta is a true beta. You're going to come in, you're going to help us, you're going to test things, you're going to see broken stuff, you're going to help us fix broken stuff. We'll be open to suggestions as well, not only how to make things better, but also for some new ideas. It's going to be a very interesting, unique, and I hope fun experience for most of you, unless you were in another game called Dark Age of Camelot's beta. So I think it's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you folks are as well.
Lotoween says, will there be a scenario variant on Defend the Keep Lord where you, MJ, play the role of the Keep Lord? And thanks for your help this week.
Oh, absolutely, Orton. You're more than welcome. Who knows? I think part of what we want to do, as we've talked about for many months, is have the scenarios reflect as many of the real life, whether it's place of power opportunities or 8-man, versus 8-man, 8-man versus Zerg opportunities that you're going to see in the live game. And that's the whole point about the scenario system. Trying to test the kind of game we're making by just going, hey guys, hey, it's a nice open world, go out and play, isn't going to be all that helpful. We won't be able to force test an open world game the way we would like to, especially at this point. On the other hand, if we can set up scenarios which say, okay, it's going to be 8 versus 8 or 8 versus 20, and this is the configuration, that's going to be kind of helpful for us. So expect evolution, including the kind of scenarios we're running.
JX Sorn asks, will there be an official press announcement and website update for the beta?
Oh, sure. The website will be updated. We're not going to alert the media in the traditional sense of sending out a big press release or doing anything super special. We're just going to tell people we're in beta and leave it at that. We're not trying to build, as we've said to you for, forever, we're not trying to build a lot of hype right now. We're trying to get the game in. We have plenty of backers. Lots of you folks have been coming in over the last few months, got some nice numbers. We can be patient about having other people join us. So, certainly we're not going to not say anything, but we're not putting any money or much time or effort to support it. Live is a whole different story. This is just a beta test.
Komarovsky asks, what does the Web API server do?
A lot of different things, as the name implies. So the simplest way to look at it is that the players inside the game use it to communicate and get and make certain requests that then get passed out of the game, passed through the game out to, the web. That's where some of the issues have been. Fortunately, it works great in the 200-person battles. It works great at 300. It was just, as we start to get above that, we saw some issues. Now, we've made a lot of changes to it, changes that the folks are confident will help things. Even something like a change we made today about how people hit the game or, will log into the game, relog back into the game after a scenario ends. We made a change to that to put a little less pressure on the Web API server. So, that went in as well. So, look, we'll see what happens. Hopefully it will go swimmingly.
Odalik has 2 questions. What will the B1D1 server be called? And will there be regular wipes, or will you wipe as a last resort to allow crafters to create nice structures?
Oh my God, we're going to be wiping all the time. That's the whole point. Whether it's because we're changing the structure of objects, of players, or just because we want you guys to do things again and again. Sometimes as hard as that may sound. harsh as that may sound. So yeah, expect lots and lots of wipes. It is never a last resort. It's a first resort, quite frankly. But we're not going to do it every time just for fun. I mean, if there's a reason to wipe, we wipe. We're not going to hesitate to do that. It's really important that we don't, especially in Beta 1. This is not anything close to the final for any aspect of the game. So, yes, lots of wipes.
Destiny asks, how does CU plan on handling 2 AM raids? A dedicated 2 AM raid can destroy weeks' worth of captures in RVRVR.
So that's something that, we've been also talking about since the beginning. We know we have to deal with it. We know that if you have an advantageous time zone or just a willingness to get up very early and do things that can give you an edge, so we're going to have ways for people to help in defense against such things. Is anything going to be the perfect solution? No, because there's an argument that obviously that's still fair gameplay. If you substituted 5 a.m. for 2 p.m. in the afternoon and nobody else was there playing, or very few people were playing, from say a U.S. Based keep, that folks in Europe would say this is perfectly fair. So there's a balance. We certainly don't want to do something which would lock the servers, unless that is our absolute last resort. I am not, as I've said even at the beginning of the Kickstarter, we're willing to do that if we have to. I just hope we don't. So expect defensive systems. Obviously there are some tried and true ones out there like guards, which never cease to fail, that we can look at, but I think we have some better ideas.
Paladin Brewer and Jack Mode are sending you love.
Right back, guys.
Demi on the YouTube chat asks, will abilities be able to interact with buildings in a way that it will amplify said ability?
In theory, yes. But that's where air would come in. So, again, in theory, yes. I don't have any plans for that right now in terms of amplifying, but frankly, I haven't thought about it before. But given air, the answer could very well be yes.
Scott Florence asks, are hopes for dropping NDA or changing NDA to allow streaming in videos, etc., still planned for during Beta 1?
Oh my God, absolutely. No change. We've been very clear about this, that once we're in Beta 1 strongly, so figure a good 30 days into it, we'll start talking about limited lifts of the NDA. That will be to allow streaming during certain tests, and then not allowing it as well during certain tests. As we, part of Beta 1 is to try sometimes different things and things that could all go boom. And we don't necessarily want video out there of something that we thought might go boom, did go boom, but didn't go boom in a really exciting way. Just to go boom and, oh my God, this looks bad. Well, that's sometimes what we need to test in Beta 1 or Beta 2 or Beta 3. So, yeah, expect a limited lift during Beta 1. Definitely expect being allowed to stream during certain tests on Beta 1. And, just the usual conventions of you can't alter the video in any way, other than, obviously, hey, so-and-so presents. But we'll have a Beta 1 tag on it. You can't, try to erase that or hide that in any way. If you're streaming, you have to make clear that we're in Beta 1, that sort of thing.
Skylar has a question. Is the purifying input-output ratio as a function of the end quality supposed to be a continuous function, or are we supposed to expect jumps?
You're supposed to expect jumps.
Odilvik passes along a question from Pex. How long do you anticipate day and night cycles to be in real time?
Don't know yet. A lot will depend on what the makeup of the server is. If we see we're getting people from the US and from Europe all playing on the same server, that might be a different day-night cycle than a server that's only EU-based or almost entirely EU-based. So, you know, that's not even something we're worrying about right now, because that's sort of a very old school and easy thing, an expected thing that we're going to be messing with. So, not worth the cycles.
Responding to your comments on wipes, Raknok asks, in the last phase of beta, will there be a wipe for launch?
Absolutely. We've been very clear about that. Being a backer is great. We appreciate it. We're going to continue to show appreciation to you folks, certainly from the day beta begins. But one of the things it doesn't give you is a head start, unless there's an official head start, which we, haven't, confirmed or obviously denied yet, because what's the point right now, on players. They're on other players. It can't be pay to win. Nothing that we can think of is pay to win about any of our tiers, and we don't want to give that impression as well by a long, any sort of a long period where people get to keep what they did during beta, and new people who come in afterwards would be at a distinct disadvantage because of it.
Wolf Spinna asks, when will you announce B2?
Oh, after a lot of recovery from finally being able to announce B1. No, we're not even going to begin talking about B2 right now. There's no point. I mean, there's absolutely no point. We have the live date, which we've talked about in very, roundabout, basic, generic, vague terms, because everything depends on both how well testing goes and our ability to continue to staff up the company. So, we certainly are eager, very eager, over eager to get more people, and then to deliver the game ahead of schedule, our schedule, current schedule, let's be clear. But, we just have to see how that goes.
Valdi313 asks, how are you and your family doing? Is Lady J doing well?
Everyone's great. Mike is having a great time adulting now that he's graduated. And Lady J is fine. I'm fine. Looking forward to eventually having summer. I think summer for me is going to start either sometime late September or maybe October. Same for a bunch of the folks here who have really put their vacations and lives on hold to do what we've been doing in order to get into beta. So I know a lot of us are looking forward to getting into beta, doing the things we need to do to repay, as we've talked about before, tech debt, to look at what is most important to get done when, as we go through the first few months, and finally, in some cases, getting to take my first vacation in a couple of years. So, yeah, we're fine, and I think we'll be finer by the time, the end of October rolls around.
Odilvik says, Gunnar wants to know about legendary items. I remember reading something about Excalibur possibly being in the game. I was just wondering how many people per realm will be allowed a legendary item at once, and what their best guess is for how we can obtain them.
So I think he's confusing the concept. So I talked about in one of the chats, could somebody make an equivalent of Excalibur? And you can substitute anything, any famous item, whether it's, Mjolnir or Excalibur or, any of the famous swords or other weapons throughout history in this game. And what I was referring to in particular was the idea of using quality and other different materials inside the crafting system to create very, very unique items. And so the answer is yes, you can create excuse me, you can create, hydrate. You can create very, very unique items. Will you be able to wield Excalibur? No, of course not. That belongs to Arthur. Will you be able to wield very, very special weapons? Yes, you will. There won't be a lot of them. They will take time to make. Lots of time. That's the point. That is one of the things that will separate this crafting system from so many, the other crafting systems in MMOs. Guilds won't be able to just go, hey, I can drop all this gear, all these craftable materials into the hopper, or gear in theory, and you break it down, into the hoppers, and you can then create something really, really special. No, it won't work that way. And even if you can, get all the materials you need and get them up to the quality you need, it's still going to take time to make that item, a lot of time. And that's going to work out really nicely. It's actually a variant on from my old MUD, Dragon's Gate, where that's how that system worked as well. Though you didn't do it yourself, you went to the store and you told the storekeeper what kind of weapon you wanted to make, or any item, and it would take time for it to be made, and then you would pick it up. So it's kind of similar to that.
Let's see. Raknok asks, how will you handle Zerging?
Well, we've talked about this so many times. Zerging is, or dealing with Zerging, is a question of having the right abilities, obviously the right skills for the players, both capital S and small s, to deal with it, and for making and putting things into the game that help discourage Zerging up to a point. Obviously, some Zerging is good in the sense of if you want to have a large-scale battle. You kind of need a lot of people to do that. So we want to encourage that. On the other hand, we want to discourage the kind of, Zerging that has seen so many games, where, the Zerg simply goes wandering around and keep trades with the other side through, sometimes a both written and spoken agreement to do that. We want to discourage that. If Zergs are looking for a fight, they should be looking for another Zerg to fight, not for keeps to trade, or not for picking off the small ones. But we'll see. Hopefully what we do works, or certainly helps, because I don't think you can ever, eliminate that kind of behavior in an open world game like ours, but you can help discourage it. And the nice thing is, I think most players, and call me naive, but I think most players would prefer not to play in a Zerg if there are other ways that they could level up as effectively as they can in the Zerg. So, that's part of the design as well.
I forgot to ask, do you want to do a 5-minute warning?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, 5-minute warning, folks.
Well, no, at this point, it would be 15 minutes, so.
Oh.
Yeah, I'll give them to a quarter of.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. All right, we're still going then. Let's see. Valdi313 asks, any idea what phase of beta the Veil mechanics will be introduced in?
Possibly 1, definitely 2.
Jack Mode asks, since there is a realm point system with ranks, abilities, etc., will there be a separate system for scenarios versus open world?
Oh no, because the scenarios are not part of launch. We're going to have something for now, of course, for rankings and all that. But once we are close to live, the scenarios go away, other than for starting battlegrounds, as we've talked about also since the beginning. Scenarios are not intended, nor will they be part of Unchained at launch, other than, again, starter battlegrounds.
Kick Assassins asks, at what point in beta do you think combat gameplay will start taking its true form, and give us an idea of how the game will play at release.
Oh, Beta 1. Beta 1. The whole point of doing what we're doing now is so we can get the systems in and making sure that the things that we need for the ability crafting, to actually work, that the supporting systems are there so that they will work when you actually craft the abilities. So no, Beta 1 is absolutely when it's going to start to feel like the combat from our game. What's it going to be like at launch? Just as we've said from the beginning, this is intended to be a game that is more old school, that has some elements from modern MMOs in terms of combat. Whether, when you look at, for example, aiming, we have both tab targeting and we have manual targeting. You kind of need that, especially for spells and abilities that are supposed to target parts of buildings. You can't really tab target through 10,000 or more blocks. And even if you were going to try to break it up and try to be really clever, it's still would be more of a pain in the butt. So we're going to have both systems in that case. So, combat is supposed to be, again, like that. A combination of old school, some things that we had obviously in Dark Age, Warhammer, the whole concept of positionals that we've talked about, reactives. But also, again, with some things that we didn't have in those games, and things that sometimes are even more associated with modern games.
Skylar asks, is purifying a low-quality material to perfect quality supposed to take longer than purifying a higher quality piece of the same material to perfect quality?
Oh yeah, absolutely. The whole idea of getting something to 100 is something that most players will not do most of the time. It is meant to be incredibly time consumptive. That's the point. We don't want a lot of 100 quality materials running around, especially the best materials. That is intended to take time, to be slow. Again, because you have a Vox and because you're a crafter and you can do other things, you don't have to stay there for that whole period. And the Vox, as you level up, will be capable of doing more than one thing at a time. But the idea is in order to get the best materials, the easiest way to do that is start with better materials and then work your way up, albeit slowly. We've learned over time when you watch other games that if you make things easy in any way with this kind of a system, the guilds, as well as players, who buy a lot of, extra accounts, would have too much of an advantage if you don't do it this way. If you do it this way, certainly they still will have an advantage, but not quite as much. If you're dedicated to it, and dedicated meaning is you don't even have to sit there the whole time, obviously, you have anything close other than starting it, that you can still get your whatever up to the same quality as anyone else. And that's an important reason behind the whole idea of a crafting station like the Vox versus the more traditional systems where you're sitting there the entire time. We don't want to do that. That would be bad.
Paladin Brewer asks, will we be able to actually use the weapons we craft soonish?
Oh yeah. I think you can use them now. At least I thought you could. If you can't, that could be a bug. And by the way, not everything in there is intended to be used right away, because you have to have the abilities that match it.
Odilvik says, Zertan asks, do you plan to release concept art of any of the cosmetic rewards anytime soon, whether it be for beta testing or backing?
Well, certainly not anytime soon, meaning the first 30 days, but yeah, after that, absolutely. We're going to have a very busy 30 days after we go into beta. We have a lot to talk about, stuff to talk about with you folks, all good, but just a lot to do. And so we need to keep focused on things such as, you know, the conversion from 32-bit to 64-bit, as we've been talking about, you know, frankly forever, and other things we want to do that we've been waiting until we're in beta to do, because we didn't want to hold up beta 1.
OG and Yalius asks, will there be long breaks between B1, 2, and 3?
If you mean breaks like we're shutting down, the answer is no. If you mean long periods, the answer certainly for beta 1 is yes.
Funk and Ellie asks, is Andrew ready to shave his beard on B1?
I haven't asked him. I assume so. I think that's what he was waiting for. 10 minutes, guys.
I'm looking for questions that aren't a repeat of a question we've already had. Akalia3 asks, are there any current plans or designs on how faction balance will be dealt with to prevent large gaming communities from heavily dominating?
That's the same thing as the Zergs, essentially, even though it's just more organized Zergs. The answer is there's not much you can really do about it. Obviously, if some folks want to come in that have come into other games and try to be dominant, you can't tell them no. They certainly have every right to buy the game. So you just hope that your mechanics that are there to prevent a well-coordinated realm from just steamrolling other people are in. Or that, you know, if they are still going to win, you still want to make sure that playing the game is fun for the realms that aren't as coordinated, well-coordinated.
Helzek asks, how hyped are you to work on Fluff again?
Boy, I wouldn't say hyped yet, honestly. The one thing that I am hyped about is getting into beta itself. After that, I think a week at the beach would be my second most hyped thing. And then, you know, working on Fluff would be great. I really do want to work on Fluff as well. There are things that I really haven't had, you know, I don't want to say I haven't had the time, and nor do I want to say I didn't have the motivation, but I didn't have the right, I think that's the correct word, to work on those other things until we reached beta. So when we reach beta, certainly things like races, which really isn't fluff, but it's certainly not quite as important as classes are. I'm going to enjoy, you know, thinking about those. And I really haven't allowed myself, the luxury of doing that in my downtime. When I've had downtime, I've wanted to do something that's totally different from CU, just to let the brain, you know, cool off a little.
Kick Assassins asks, does anyone know if the Vox itself will be leveling up?
Oh God, of course. Couple things on the Vox. First, yes. Vox leveling has been part of the plan from the beginning. And two, I've asked Art to begin expanding upon the Vox concept, making some changes, making it a little bit different. Not hugely different, just a little different. And see what they come up with.
Anila Gamir on the YouTube chat asks, will there be seasons with specific reagents, like herbs that only grow in summer or winter?
We certainly hope so. We've talked about that sort of stuff from the beginning, that weather and seasons can play a role in the game.
Trevel88 asks, when can I smack the builder doing the TDD starter island? I mean, shake their hand.
You have to find them in the game.
Odilvik says, Nyx Nightwish asks, Will Hellbound be similar to Warhammer's Disciple of Cain?
Now I've got to remember everything about the Disciples of Cain, which I don't think, quite frankly, I am capable of doing right now and doing it, justice. I'm sure there'll be some similarities, but it's not my intent to make our equivalent of the doc. But, you folks would be better able to judge that, than I am, because I'm kind of biased. After all, having made both Dark Age and Warhammer and this game, I'll have my own opinions, but you're the opinions that matter. 5-minute warning, all.
5-minute warning. Odilvik says, Pex asks, anything you can tell us expanding on individual storage of items, not guild bank related?
Oh, yeah. I've talked about this also since the beginning. We're not looking to make individual storage a big deal, whether it's, the bags or your ability to store in your house or a bank slot. So that we're not seeing that at all, and never have seen it as something that's a big deal for this game. And by a big deal, it doesn't mean, yes, you won't have any. No, that you should have plenty, especially when you look at a system like ours for crafting. Those folks need a lot of space. And since we're not big on going down the route of, hey, do you want to expand your bank statement, your bank space? That'll only be our special $5.95 add-on. So, we don't plan on that either ever happening, or that being an issue for the vast majority of players.
I have to ask this question because it's so good with the alliteration. Scott Florence asks, what range of beta level is the harvesting method hoped to change and the dawn of the delves?
Say that again? You lost me, man.
What range of beta level is the harvesting method hoped to change and begin the dawn of the delves?
Oh. I think I know what he's saying. Do you know what he's saying?
He's asking when are we going to have mines instead
That's what I thought. Okay, good. I didn't know if he was referring to mines or, the depths, right? Because of the delvers.
Yeah. Hey,
okay.
Maybe you can answer both.
Yeah, okay. Because that's what was confusing me for a minute. I was going, is he talking about the depths? Because the stories with the delvers. Or he's talking about mines. So if you're talking about mines, we do expect mines to be in during Beta 1. Mines are important. We want to get away from the resource tents reasonably quickly. They're there just to make your lives easier. It's important for us, and we've been also clear about this, that shortcuts like that are there to help you folks, help us by testing faster, by being able to test more, by not putting weird restrictions on things and on testing early on that actually discourage you, at least not on purpose. Sometimes mistakes are made to discourage you from testing, but we do want to take them away and need to take them away for the real solution. So I expect we'll run both for quite a while, and also have the ability to bring back the resource tents when we need, when we need to speed up testing. But yeah, expect mines. I'm looking forward. That's one of the things, actually, that I'm looking forward to a lot.
All right, and this one might be nice to end with. Lotoween asks, can you describe the most memorable moment you experienced during a beta test for any of your previous projects?
Oh, geez. Gosh, you know what? In all the years, nobody has asked me that question. So I have no recent memory to discuss, or no recent answer. I can talk about my... Oh, actually, I can. I got it. Oh, do you have something, Andrew? Oh, Andrew's going to jump in.
Who remembers in Warhammer Online the day we accidentally rebuilt the model database incorrectly, and there was one byte out of place, and the puffy cloud models, which were scaled to huge size, floating in the distance, were accidentally redirected to a banana model from a storekeeper in one of
That
the
was a good
capital
one.
cities. And there were just giant bananas, 50 to 500 meters long, floating across the sky in the Warhammer beta.
I wish I had a shot of that. Did you ever get a shot of that?
Yeah, it's on an old hard drive.
Oh, you got to see if we can
Yeah,
find
I'll
it.
dig
That
it
was-
up.
That was fun.
Yeah, not going to do better than that one.
No, I'm not going to top that one. I had one, but it's not going to top the bananas, because what can top floating bananas? Certainly not what I remembered from Dark Age. Okay, so look, folks, 4:45. Time for me to sign off. This weekend, please jump in, and if you see an email from me that says jump in for an hour to help us get 500 or more people, please jump in if you can. Please, pretty please, with sugar on top, because we really want to stress the Web API server.
All right. I
Yeah.
just have to do my impression of
Oh, sure.
Ben ever since I told the banana story. He is just sitting at his desk doing this. He's not pulled his face up since I told the banana story. The banana story affected Ben deeply.
So
I was there, man. I saw the bananas. I've seen bananas you wouldn't believe floating through the sky.
Nice. But yes, if you do that, because look, you folks know us, we're very straightforward about things. We're not looking for an excuse to delay beta. We just want to know if it works. Because if we do find an issue, that's why we're starting Tuesday as opposed to Monday. Because if something comes up, we'll still have Monday to try to fix it. And again, that's not a guarantee. It is tentative based on what happens or today, tonight, and Saturday and Sunday. But we are looking good. We have no new content that we're looking to put in. We're not waiting for any new major code drops. A whole bunch of stuff has gone in today, and so far looking good. But please do help us if you can. It's important. If we can find an issue, we can probably fix it hopefully quickly, and that would allow us to open it up on Tuesday. So that's it. As always, we thank you for your support. We thank you for your patience, and hopefully on Tuesday, I will be thanking you and welcoming you into Beta 1 for Camelot Unchained. So, folks, have a great weekend. For those of you who are going to go to the movies, I hear Mission Impossible is great. Some of us are going to try to go see that on the weekend. 98 on Rotten Tomatoes as of now. Pretty good. And if not, enjoy your weekend anyway, and I'll see you hopefully on Tuesday to announce that beta has indeed opened. So that's it. And again, thank you and see ya.
See you later.